Good morning, Grade 6, and welcome to WorksheetCloud, Grade 6 Natural Sciences. My name is Mrs. Hall, and I'm really looking forward to going on this journey with you over the next few weeks while we are in lockdown, exploring the Grade 6 Natural Science curriculum. If I happen to teach you a lesson that your wonderful, amazing teacher has already taught you, please don't switch me off or pause me. Rather use this as an opportunity to revise and consolidate prior knowledge. If you have any questions about this lesson, please feel free to email me at grade6@worksheetcloud.com as displayed on your screen in front of you. Let's begin. Today's lesson is on food processing, and we are going to cover the following topics: why we process food, microbes, the good, the bad, and the ugly, perishable and non-perishable foods, as well as methods for preserving food. Let's get started. I hope you've got your snacks. This is going to be a long lesson, but I hope you enjoy it. As you all know, food is delicious, especially when it's fresh, and it's also very healthy for us. We need to eat fresh fruit and vegetables every day, but when food starts to get old, it isn't tasty or safe to eat. How many of you have come back from holiday only to find this in your fridge or in your cupboard? This is food that has been contaminated by microbes. These microbes create poisonous toxins. Now, what are microbes, you may ask? Microbes are microorganisms, tiny little organisms that you cannot see with the human eye, and they are a type of bacteria causing disease or fermentation. Now, we get good microbes as well as bad microbes. Let's take a look at the good microbes that we all love to have in our home. These microbes are used for creating some of our best loved foods like cheese and yogurt. But then we also get these microbes, these nasty looking things. These microbes can do us a great deal of harm. And let's find out how. Obviously, microbes are the bacteria that grow on food. How does it get to the food? Well, we are the main source of contamination. We have bacteria and germs all around us in the air and on the surfaces that we are working on all day and every day, everything we touch. That contamination comes onto our hands, and then we pick up food or touch other objects and we transfer the bacteria. That bacteria then is on our potentially hazardous food. Now, what makes the food potentially hazardous? Well, if we leave the food outside for a long period of time, the bacteria has perfect conditions for bacterial growth. It has warmth, it has moisture, it has time, and obviously it has the food on which to grow. And over time, these bacteria multiply and become the harmful microbes. We then eat that food without knowing that it's contaminated, and we get a type of sickness in our tummies or a type of food poisoning. Let's take a look at different kinds of illnesses created by these microbes. Who of you haven't recently had a bout of gastritis? And I don't mean just the fake bout of gastritis that you have when you don't feel like coming to school that day. I'm talking about real gastritis, when you have definite pain in your tummies, you have vomiting, you have a heaviness in your tummy, you have flatulence. There's nothing worse than having flatulence in a class, and it's every teacher's worst nightmare. especially the ones that are silent, but we all know are violent, can clear a classroom very, very quickly. The memories of being in class, boys and girls. We also get a burning feeling in our tummy, as well as a bloating feeling in our tummy. And this sickness is caused by gastritis, which comes from those horrible microbes I was talking about. Another microbe or bacteria that we know about that's been in the news headlines in South Africa in the last year is the Listeria microbe. Now, the Listeria microbe can be found on fruit and vegetables, in raw milk. It can be found in certain cheeses, as well as in certain processed food. And people who are at high risk for listeriosis are your pregnant women, your elderly, and your very small children. Now, Listeria bacteria can survive from 4 degrees to 43 degrees. It's quite a high temperature that they can survive in. Actually, there it says 42. Sorry, had to put my glasses on there to see that. Food can be contaminated with Listeria at any stage in the supply chain, from the farm through the processing and distribution at the factories, right up to where it lands up on your table and you're eating it off your fork. Let's take a good look at listeriosis. Let's delve deeper into it. Right, here we have a schematic diagram, and it tells us about listeriosis and where it comes from. Listeria is found in soil and in water. Vegetables can become contaminated, as well as fruit and plants, from the soil that the bacteria are in, or even from the manure, which is used as fertilizer, which comes from our feces, from the animals that poop on the farms. Animals can even carry the bacteria without appearing ill and can contaminate the foods or the foods of animal origin, such as meats and dairy products that we buy off our shelves. Listeriosis is mainly a food-borne disease, except in the situation in which a pregnant woman can transfer the bacteria to the fetus or her newborn baby. People who have listeriosis are not contagious from the disease. You cannot pass it from person to person. It's not a contagious disease, unlike gastritis, which is. How do we get rid of these terrible microbes? Well, the answer to eliminating them and to preventing us from getting sick and having tummy bugs lies in food preservation. They actually look quite nasty. A process that stops or slows food from going rotten. Different methods have been developed throughout the years, some as early as Egyptian times. Let's explore each method of food preservation in detail. Why do we process food? Well, there are a number of reasons, grade sixes. We do it to make it taste better. We do it to make it more edible. We do it to make it last longer. And sometimes we even do it to improve its nutrient value. Now, there's nothing better than raw, fresh veggies and fruit. So make sure that you're eating much more fresh vegetables and fruit than what you are eating these kind of foods, the processed food. We get different kinds of foods. First of all, we get our perishable foods. Now, our perishable foods are our fresh fruits and vegetables and milk. And these foods last for less than 2 days, sometimes up to a week. Examples include fruits, vegetables, milk, and meat. We then get semi-perishable foods. These last for around 2 months and are processed. For example, ice cream, cheese, bread, cake, and pastries that can be stored long on your shelves in your cupboards. And then we get what we call shelf-stable foods. Now, shelf-stable foods last for much longer and can have a shelf life for up to 6 months. Those are things like your pasta and your grain and things like that. Now, the first method of preservation that we use is bottling and canning. Bottling and canning are processes of preserving food by heating and then sealing it in an airtight container. The food is first boiled to kill the microorganisms, the microbes, and then sealed to prevent other microorganisms from getting in. So it lasts for quite a long time. Our next method we're going to look at is pickling. Who doesn't love a jar of pickled onions? Pickled cheese, or toasted cheese and pickled sandwiches. Oh, delicious. I think I might make one for lunch today. Pickling food in vinegar or other acids makes it difficult for the microorganisms to live. So, commonly pickled food would be your onions that I was talking about, parkias, those are a type of bean, your soya beans as well as chilies, and even cucumbers, gherkins, you all know those. Sugar can also be used in pickling fruits such as nutmegs, mangoes, and cherries. Drying is another method of preservation of food, and a lot of food is preserved by drying it under the sun. Aren't we lucky we live in a beautiful country that has sunshine most days where we can actually dry fruit? But you also get special machines that your moms might even have at home for drying fruit that they have excess of, and then they don't want it to go to waste. I see a lot of you bring dried fruit to school in your lunch boxes. Drying removes most water from the food. Oh, talking about water, I'm actually going to take a sip. I hope you guys are keeping hydrated during this lockdown, because remember, water feeds your brain. And often when I'm teaching, the children in my class will say, Mrs. Hall, have you drunk your water? Because you're not making any sense. You've got to keep that brain hydrated to make sense, boys and girls. So where were we? Most bacteria die or become inactive when food is dried. Okay, lovely method. And you can even try that method at home. Salting is another method, and it's an age-old way of preserving food. The salt draws out the moisture and prevents the microorganisms from growing. In this process, foods such as fresh fish are gutted, washed, and coarse salt is rubbed into it. And then the food is preserved and it lasts much longer. I must admit, when I found this picture, I've never tried a salted lemon. Obviously, you all know about biltong and drying out biltong using salt and spices. Vacuum packing. Some of your moms might have these fancy contraptions at home. Vacuum packing keeps food by sucking air out from its packaging. And that's because, obviously, in the air, we also get microorganisms that float around all the time that can harm the food. Food is thus prevented from spoiling because there's no air. Cooling and freezing. Very common way to preserve food, boys and girls. And I'm pretty sure you've visited this fridge many times in the last 2 weeks of lockdown. I hope while you're visiting the fridge for snacks, you're also concentrating on getting a little bit of exercise as well. I'm not, unfortunately. I'm going to have to go into full exercise mode next week because I've been snacking a lot, but not keeping up with my exercise. So cooling and freezing are the most common forms of food preservation. And it's quite nifty to use freezing because you can just buy big, large packets of ice, especially if you're going camping or you're going to be away from a fridge or a freezer for a couple of hours. Mom and Dad always love to pack that icebox when you're going on a picnic. Keeps your food nice and fresh and makes it last longer. This was an interesting method while I was doing the research for this lesson. It's called waxing. And apparently it's also quite common. I've never seen it or tried it, but apples, oranges, eggplants, and tomatoes are dipped into liquid wax to prevent the growth of the fungi and also to prevent the fruit from losing its moisture. Obviously, once it's been waxed and preserved, it needs to be washed thoroughly, peeled before you're eating it. Can't imagine it will be quite tasty with that wax on it. Pasteurisation is a method most of you have already learned in grade 5. It means heating food to a certain temperature for some time, followed by rapid cooling. And here we can see the heating section as well as the cooling section. And it's generally used for the production of milk. Heating of such high temperature kills most of the bacteria. However, it does not affect the taste or the nutritional value of the food, like your milk. So you're still getting all your vitamins and all of your minerals, which is great. Boiling. As food is heated and cooked, the heat kills the microorganism. Boiling kills most bacteria. However, those not affected by heat will grow when the conditions are suitable. So don't think that boiling is going to kill all your microorganisms and your bad microbes. Sometimes they still might be lurking there. Smoking, everybody loves this process, especially in South Africa. It is the process of drying food with smoke for a long period of time. This method is mainly used for fish, meat, and even fruit, such as bananas. Never tried a smoked banana, but you can always try something new. Don't be afraid to try new things, boys and girls. Here we have a lovely smoky braai going on in the background, and we have some lovely dried meat, and who doesn't love a smoked gammon at Christmas time? The drying effects of smoke and the chemicals produced from the smoke help to preserve the food and also make it last longer. Now I wanted to end off my lesson with an indigenous way of processing food. The word indigenous, boys and girls, means it is local to our country. It's for us in South Africa. It's what we do. And one of the methods we use that is indigenous to South Africa is fermenting liquid. So we take milk and we wait for it to go sour. And then we use this liquid as a refreshing cold drink. And the thickened part looks and tastes like cottage cheese or plain yogurt. And you can buy it on our shelves in Pick n Pay, in Woolies, in ShopRite, in Checkers, and it's a delicious treat that is enjoyed by many South Africans. And if you haven't tried it yet, I suggest you go and give it a whirl. I want to end off with this famous saying. Through food preservation, wastage of food can be reduced. And as that proverb says, waste not, want not. Now I want you to think about that for a little bit. Waste not, want not. What do you think it means? Especially in this time during lockdown, when your moms and dads are only allowed to leave the house every couple of days to go find you nice, new, nutritious, wholesome snacks, because I know that's what you're asking for. Not the bad snacks, the good ones. Waste not, want not means if you use your resources carefully, in other words, the resources you have at home, and you don't use them extravagantly, you will never be in need. You will always have enough. So think about that very carefully, especially during this time of lockdown. Waste not, want not. So when mom brings out that fresh bowl of fruit, make sure you eat it. before those microbes come, because once they're on it, couple of days, and that food will be looking like that picture I showed you in one of my first slides. Thank you for watching, grade 6s. This lesson was brought to you by WorksheetCloud, and you can now go log on to their website, which you're probably already on, and download the homework sheet on food processing, as well as the memo. It'll be good practice for you and help you to revise and consolidate this section of work. Tomorrow, I'm looking forward to sharing a lesson with you on ecosystems, the different types of ecosystems. Have a good day, grade 6s. Be kind to your sibling. And remember what I told you earlier, healthy body, healthy mind. So make sure you're getting exercise. Make sure you're eating wholesome, nutritional snacks. Enjoy those fresh fruits and vegetables. See you tomorrow, same time, same place.